thinking this is the opportunity to move up. So I have a lot of people who are like realizing they're stuck in a space that's too small, and they want to move to a larger space and take advantage of this environment. So we do have buyers looking either to invest or to build up, and they were like, let's start now, but we realize we'll have to wait to actually pull a trigger. Because in my market, I'm finding people with primary residences are truly not willing to buy sight unseen. But it seems like in your market, they have no choice. If they want to move and they can't get there physically, they're going to have to rely on the technology that thankfully we have to help them kind of see these homes. And that's a difference right now in the market. I'm also trying to tell, sorry, I was just saying, I'm also trying to help you ladies out by telling them that doing renovation in the burbs is not like doing the renovation in Manhattan. So maybe they should be a little more open to it.
I'm renovating my, people are, I am not selling homes completely sight unseen. That is not happening.
Well, because you can get people in.
Yeah, we can get people in, and when you go to the next set of questions, I'll explain how we're doing that. So,
yeah, no, it's definitely interesting times. Francie, I get a lot of calls from clients that say, I want to live in Westchester, but Westchester is a very big place, and there's a lot of differences between towns. So when people come to you, do they necessarily know where they want to be, or do you have to help them figure out what the right fit is?
Great question. And I'll answer it for the whole panel because we're veterans and we all have the long game for our team. We're not just looking for the quick commission. So what we all do is, as Alana said, I do an intake call for an hour or so and talk to the client about what they're looking for, what their commute's going to be like, dual income, how many kids, all the details, and then talk about the options, whether it's Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, or Westchester, and go over with them, how these areas play out in terms of commute, in terms of lifestyle, and schools and daily life. And then if they dive into, say, Westchester, I always say it's like moving to a foreign country. So we jump in the car and they get a tour. And if we have to do 3 tours because they want to see the Sound Shore side, they want to see the middle, and they want to see the river towns or the Hudson River side, we do that as well. And it's more important. We're selling, 80% of our buyers are just buying lifestyle. They're not buying a home, they're buying a lifestyle and finding the home within that. There is a small subset that just say, I just want the best home and I don't care where, but that's more unique, I think, in metropolitan New York. So we help them understand what they're buying. And I always, my team and I always say, an informed buyer is our best buyer. The buyer that comes down the first day and buys a house, which is really happening to us a lot in the pandemic, is actually not our favorite way to do it. We're really catching up the whole time, because as they're buying, we're also talking to them about nursery schools and daycare and nannies versus au pairs and Hebrew school and CCD. It's a lot. So when you meet with any of us or work with any of us or are referred by any of us, you get a whole packet, a buyer packet, all the information you need, train times, maps, schools, all that stuff. And that starts the process. And then the call, the tours, and it blooms from there.
No, it really is a process, though. And, I think it's just so important for people to find, when they're moving out of the city, to find like the town that really suits them and their family. So I think it's important that someone takes the time to make sure that it is the right space for them, not only house-wise, but community-wise. Angela, I assume a lot, and maybe I'm wrong, but tell me, I assume a lot of buyers are deciding between Westchester and Connecticut. It just seems like most of my clients are either one, or if they're going to one, they're considering the other. Is it the taxes that draws people to Connecticut? Like, what do you see as the pros or the cons?
Good question. That also has changed. It's amazing what has changed so quickly. So there's always been a very symbiotic relationship between Westchester and Greenwich, and I'll speak specifically from Greenwich. Thankfully, I grew up in Tarrytown, so I understand that Westchester and the commute from where I grew up on the river towns was a train station. So in the past, what we found is that people would place or struggle with 2 things. It was either the commute to New York City, far better from Bronxville, Larchmont, Scarsdale, than Greenwich. We are 43 to 51 minutes, depending on our 4 train stations. On the flip side, our taxes are 2/3 less than Westchester. So on a typical, call it 4-bedroom, 4,000 square foot, $2 million home on a third of an acre, our taxes are $12,000 to $15,000 per year. That's per year. Top rated public schools, the shops along Greenwich Avenue rival that of Madison Avenue. So in the past, people would say, and I totally respected it because I was a working mom that commuted to New York City, those extra 15 minutes, that makes a difference. That could be my son's baseball game, or that could be, the difference between making a nice dinner or just, schlepping, macaroni and cheese and chicken nuggets. So I totally get it. Now, everything's been turned upside down. Now, the fact that so many companies are saying, yes, you can work from your house. You may only have to go into New York City 2, possibly 3 times a week. Well, now the balance becomes, what do we do? And now they're saying those extra 15 minutes, is it 1 page of a podcast or an email that I can read? But the lower taxes really do make a difference because we're paying ourselves versus the government, and apples to apples at the end of the day. That being said, there's and I think Francie said it, there is a place for everyone. And I tell this in all sincerity to all my buyers. I say, when you come to Greenwich, one of our towns, one of our little villages, Coscob, Riverside, Old Greenwich, Greenwich proper, back country, it might not be for you. When we go and do our tours, I say, look around. Can you see yourself here? Can you see yourself talking to some of the other people at the shops when we go to have a cup of coffee? If not, that's okay. You will find your tribe, your people. It may be Greenwich, it may be one of the river towns, and it may be Jersey, but there will be a place for you, and just let the process play out. And unfortunately, as we're all echoing right now, a lot of these folks have the water faucet's on. It's being, we got to get you out of the city. I don't want to be for that second round of COVID coming up in October. So we're sort of being forced to make a decision without going through what we usually do, is that natural progression of understanding what each town offers.
No, it's important. And before we get to the next question, I just want to, I forgot to mention that the chat is on and the Q&A section. So if you have questions that you want to get answered by anyone here, add them and we will try and get to them. I got a few questions prior, so we'll get to those. And I know Stacy is monitoring the Facebook page, so we can also answer those questions if there's any. Anyway, that was just a little housekeeping. Stacy, so we're hearing that it's more of a seller's market, so in your areas. So what advice are you giving your sellers right now? Mm-hmm. How are they feeling? And where are the sellers going? That's my question.
So it's a great question. So, first of all, the first thing we had to do was figure out how to do business and not be tone deaf to what was going on in the market and in the world, right? So that was very interesting. And how did we go about doing our jobs, being sensitive to what was happening and protecting everybody simultaneously? So we set forth some pretty strict standards for allowing people in the houses. Now our areas, some have lock boxes, some don't, but that's all out the window. If you are somebody who is interested in buying, and this is what we had to say to the sellers, because the sellers would say to us, I'm uncomfortable, I want to sell, I see there's a window of opportunity. Clearly, if you were a seller who was, and I have a lot of empty nesters and they were looking to go to the city, maybe they're thinking they could get a better deal right now, and that's amazing. Maybe they want to go to Florida, maybe they have a vacation house they could get into. The point is they're thinking that the moment in time could very well be now, and how can we feel comfortable? So what we tell our sellers is this: everybody who comes has got to be financially approved. They have to show me proof of funds or pre-approval. The next thing we ask for is a site visit, right? So we want people to go, we want people to come and look at your property. We want to have them even walk your property. Do they like that location? Have they spent enough time with what these ladies were saying? loving the town, knowing the town is right, and now they're good. They're good with your location, they're good with your town. So now we know there's a site visit, now we know they're approved financially, and then we restrict the times we allow people in. So once we're doing that, we're actually saying we are only opening the houses twice a week, 2 hours at a time. And everybody actually has to sign a waiver. It's called a COVID waiver, acknowledging they're not sick, they haven't been around people, that whole thing. Once you get through those steps, and this goes back to these ladies saying, you better be, you know, these are real buyers. These are not, you're not going through all this as a tire kicker, right? These are real buyers. Then you got to put on the mask, the booties, the gloves. And I spent $1,000 in booties, just so we know. We asked the sellers to keep everything open. You turn your lights on, you open the cabinets, you put the music on, you do it, and I am gonna touch nothing. We ask the kids don't come in typically, and it's only essential decision makers. So again, if you're a buyer and you've gone through all of these steps that these ladies have expressed, which is amazing, then if whomever the decision maker is, this is not a market where I am not, as a seller's agent, going to say, okay, well, I'm going to come out first, and then if I like it, I'm going to bring my husband. That's not going to be okay. We want to limit everybody's exposure for everybody's reasons. So that's part of the advice we're giving to sellers, and it's part of the whole, as you said, Stacy, there's a whole lot of informing going on. How are we doing our jobs? How are we trying to make it safe for you guys and us at the same time? How do you do a tour of a neighborhood if you don't want to be in the same car with somebody? So we're all learning how to do all that differently. So we're doing it on Zoom, Google Earth. We're doing virtual tours of the neighborhoods, which is amazing. So we're telling the sellers we're going to keep you safe, and this is how we're going to do it. The other thing we're working on with the sellers is they have to have a place to go. It's absolutely an issue. The challenge is that a lot of these empty nesters didn't have a place to go even before, because they're competing, if they're sizing down, they're competing with the millennials who are buying first-time homes. So that was a huge issue, and part of the inventory cluster, I'm not gonna say cluster, I'm gonna leave that out. So it's an ongoing problem. We have a whole onslaught of millennials coming into the market. They're going for the houses that the empty nesters wanted to buy. So I am encouraging my families to opportunize this window of time. And if they were considering selling their house within the next few years, sell your house now, go find yourself a rental, go get that deal in the city, do it now, because markets change really quickly. So that's my message. My message is work in the market we have now. Don't wait. If you are going to sell your house, don't wait. Now's the time. Go to my friend Stacy in the city and get it. Stacy, are there good deals in the city? Because that's like what all my people want to know. You know, are there good deals in the city? Can they go? I know you're asking me a question.
No, it's a good
families want to know. People who were selling that were moving to the city now are not motivated anymore. So where are they going to go? And they might have second homes and they're hanging out in the Hamptons maybe. And God bless them. That's amazing. However, they're also kind of in this state of transition where they're just not sure. And we don't have a lot of amazing townhouses. And get this, everybody who was going to downsize into perhaps like Fort Lee and Edgewater, these like a great apartment, townhouse, complex buildings right off of the Hudson River, amazing ferries to